Alex Carter stepped off the transport shuttle and looked up at the massive structure floating in space. Kepler Station stretched for miles in every direction, its silver walls gleaming under the light of 3 distant suns. Somewhere inside this giant space station was the Galactic Naval Academy, the most respected military school in known space. Alex's hands shook slightly as he picked up his single bag. Everything he owned fit inside it. Back on Earth, people had called him crazy for even trying to get accepted. Humans had only been part of the galactic community for 50 years, and only 2 humans had ever made it into the academy before him. Both had quit within the first month. The docking bay was filled with beings Alex had only seen in pictures. A group of Zentari warriors stood near the main entrance, their natural armor plates gleaming like polished stone. Each one was nearly 8 feet tall and looked like they could punch through steel walls. Their 4 arms moved with perfect coordination as they talked in their deep, rumbling voices. Nearby, a cluster of Vorthon cadets floated a few inches off the ground. Their pale blue skin seemed to glow with inner light, and Alex could see the gill slits on their necks opening and closing rhythmically. The Vorthons were telepaths, able to share thoughts instantly with each other. They never needed to speak out loud. A small group of Kepler lizards scurried past, their 6 legs moving so fast they were just a blur. Alex knew they could run at speeds that would make a human car look slow. Their large eyes could see in complete darkness and spot movement from miles away. Alex looked down at his own very ordinary human body. No armor, no telepathy, no super speed. Just regular skin that bruised easily and muscles that got tired after running for more than a few minutes. He wondered again what the Academy Selection Committee had been thinking when they accepted his application. "Lost already, human?" The voice came from behind him, deep and mocking. Alex turned to see a Zentari cadet approaching. The alien's name, tag read Vex, and he wore the red stripes of a second-year student. "I am surprised you made it this far. Usually your kind gives up before even boarding the transport." Several other cadets had stopped to watch. Alex could feel their eyes on him, studying him like he was some kind of interesting bug. He forced himself to stand straighter and look Vex in the eye, even though he had to crane his neck up to do it. "I am here to learn, same as everyone else," Alex said, keeping his voice steady. Vex laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. "Learn? What could a soft skin possibly learn here? You have no natural weapons, no enhanced senses, no special abilities at all. The first combat exercise will send you crying back to your little planet." More cadets gathered around them now. Alex recognized several species from his studies. The tall, thin ethereals with their silver hair and pale skin. The stocky dwarven. Federation members with their thick beards and muscled arms. Even a few of the rare psionic order students, their heads covered by ceremonial hoods. "Perhaps we should test the human right now," suggested one of the ethereals. Her voice had a musical quality that made it sound like she was singing. "A simple strength test? Or maybe we see how fast it can run." Alex felt heat rising in his cheeks but forced himself to stay calm. Getting angry would only prove their point about humans being weak and emotional. Instead, he hefted his bag and started walking toward the academy entrance. "Where are you going, human?" Vex called after him. "To find my room and start classes," Alex replied without turning around. "You can stand here talking all day if you want, but I have work to do." Behind him, he heard surprised murmurs from the crowd. Apparently, they had expected him to either fight or run away crying. Walking away calmly was not what they had planned for. The Academy's main corridor was even more impressive than the docking bay. The walls were covered with displays showing the history of galactic civilization, battle scenes from the Great Wars, peace treaties signed between species that had once been enemies, and portraits of famous graduates who had gone on to become admirals and generals. Alex stopped in front of a display case filled with medals and ribbons. These were the Academy's highest honors awarded to cadets who showed exceptional courage, skill, or leadership. The Bronze Star of Tactical Excellence for brilliant strategy, the Silver Medal of Heroic Service for saving lives, the Gold Medal of Unbreaking Spirit for never giving up. At the top of the case sat the rarest prize of all, the Diamond Medal of Leadership, awarded only once in the Academy's 300-year history. Beautiful, are they not? Alex turned to find an elderly Vorthan floating beside him. Unlike the young cadets in the docking bay, this one wore the gold uniform of an instructor. His name tag read, Professor Keln. "Yes, sir," Alex replied. "They are. Each medal represents something special," Keln continued, his voice speaking directly into Alex's mind through telepathy. "Not just skill or strength, but the qualities that make a true leader. Courage when others are afraid, wisdom when others are confused, hope when others have given up." "Do you think a human could ever earn one?" Alex asked. Professor Keln was quiet for a long moment. His large, dark eyes studied Alex carefully. "I have been teaching here for 60 years, he said finally. "I have seen students from every species with every possible advantage. Some had strength that could crush stone. Others had minds that could calculate faster than computers. But you know what I learned?" Alex shook his head. "The greatest leaders are not always the strongest or the smartest. Sometimes they are simply the ones who refuse to quit when everyone else has given up." Keln smiled, an expression that looked strange on his alien features. "Perhaps a human could surprise us all." Alex found his room in the lower levels of the Academy, far from the luxury quarters given to students from more important species. The room was small and simple, with just a bed, a desk, and a tiny window that looked out at the stars. As he unpacked his few belongings, Alex could hear laughter and conversation from the corridors above. Tomorrow, classes would begin. Tomorrow, he would have to prove that humans belonged here. Tonight, he sat by his window and looked out at the vast galaxy spread before him, full of species that considered his kind weak and worthless. But Alex Carter had not come this far to give up now. Whatever it took, he would show them what humans could do. The combat simulation chamber was massive, filled with holographic projections that looked completely real. Alex stood with his squad of 5 other cadets, all from different species, all looking like they would rather be anywhere else than paired with a human. Squad leader Vex crossed his 4 arms and glared down at Alex. "Listen carefully, soft skin. This exercise is designed to test our limits. We will face enemy forces with superior numbers and firepower. Each species must use their natural advantages to succeed. Since you have no advantages, try to stay out of our way." The other squad members nodded in agreement. There was Zara, an ethereal, whose enhanced reflexes made her nearly impossible to hit. Brick, a Dwarven Federation member whose natural armor could stop most energy weapons. Quick, a Kepler lizard who could scout ahead faster than anyone could follow. And Whisper, a psionic order student who could sense enemies through walls. "Squad 7, prepare for deployment," announced the computer voice. The walls around them shimmered and changed, transforming into a rocky canyon on some distant planet. Red sand stretched in all directions, broken by tall stone formations and deep crevices. Mission parameters, continued the voice. Rescue hostages from enemy stronghold. Enemy forces number approximately 100. You have limited ammunition and no air support. Success requires reaching the hostage location within 2 hours. Vex immediately took charge, pointing with one of his massive arms toward a distant fortress carved into the canyon wall. Whisper will scout the perimeter and locate guard positions. Zara will provide covering fire with her enhanced accuracy. Quick will create diversions with hit-and-run attacks. Brick will take point and absorb enemy fire. I will lead the main assault. What about me? Alex asked. You will stay in the rear and try not to get killed, Vex replied dismissively. This mission requires real abilities, not human weakness. The squad moved out across the desert terrain. Alex followed behind, feeling useless as he watched his teammates use their natural gifts. Whisper closed his eyes and pointed toward clusters of hidden enemies. Quick became a blur of motion, striking enemy positions and disappearing before return fire could find him. Zara's shots hit targets that Alex could barely see. But something was wrong. After an hour of steady progress, they were no closer to the fortress than when they started. The enemy seemed to know exactly where they were going and what they planned to do. This is impossible, Brick grumbled, his armor showing scorch marks from enemy weapons. Every time we advance, they are waiting for us. They have us outgunned and outnumbered, Zara added, breathing hard from the constant fighting. At this rate, we will never reach the hostages in time. Vex's natural armor was cracked in several places, and one of his arms hung limply at his side. We need a new strategy, but there is no time to develop one. We are trapped. Alex had been watching the battle unfold, paying attention to patterns the others missed. While his teammates focused on using their abilities, he noticed something they had not. The enemy is not trying to stop us, Alex said quietly. What? Vex turned to glare at him. Of course they are trying to stop us. They have been shooting at us for an hour. No, they are hurting us, Alex explained. Look at the attack patterns. They never hit us when we move right, but they concentrate, fire when we go left. They are pushing us toward a specific route. Whisper frowned and reached out with his psychic senses. The human is correct. There is a large enemy force waiting in ambush along the path we are taking. They want us to walk into their trap. Then what do you suggest, Softskin? Vex asked with bitter sarcasm. Use your amazing human powers to defeat them? Alex ignored the insult and studied the terrain around them. The fortress sat high on the canyon wall, seemingly impossible to reach except by the winding path they had been following. But Alex noticed something the others had missed. The water carved this canyon over millions of years, he said, pointing to the smooth rock formations. See how the stone is worn away? There used to be a river here, flowing from that direction. He indicated a narrow crack in the canyon wall that looked like solid rock. So? Brick asked impatiently. So water always finds the easiest path. If there was a river, there must be caves and tunnels inside the rock, a back entrance to the fortress that the enemy is not watching. Quick's large eyes blinked rapidly. That crack is too narrow for most of us to fit through, and we cannot see where it leads. I can fit, Alex said, and I can scout ahead to see if it connects to the fortress. Vex laughed harshly. You want us to trust our mission to human guesswork? This is not a game, soft skin. Just then, enemy fire erupted around them again, forcing the squad to take cover. Their ammunition was running low and time was running out. Whisper's psychic readings showed the enemy growing stronger while they grew weaker. "We have to try something," Zara said, ducking as energy bolts screamed overhead. "Our current plan is not working." Alex was already moving toward the crack in the wall. "Give me 30 minutes. If I do not signal you, continue with your original plan." Before anyone could stop him, Alex squeezed through the narrow opening. Inside, the rock was cool and damp, just as he had predicted. Ancient watermarks on the walls showed where the river had once flowed. The tunnel was dark and dangerous, but it sloped upward toward the fortress. Alex moved carefully through the winding passages, using his hands to feel his way when the darkness became complete. Several times he had to crawl through spaces so tight that a larger being could never have passed. His human size, usually seen as a weakness, was now an advantage. After 20 minutes of climbing, Alex saw light ahead. He emerged in a small cave that opened directly into the fortress courtyard. The enemy guards were all facing outward, watching for the expected assault from the canyon below. None of them looked behind them. Alex activated his communicator and whispered coordinates to his squad. Then he began the most dangerous part of his plan. Moving with careful silence, Alex crept through the fortress corridors until he found the hostages locked in a central chamber. Using basic tools from his pack, he picked the simple lock and freed the captives. "When I give the signal, run for that cave opening," he told them quietly. "My team will cover your escape." At exactly the right moment, Alex triggered every alarm in the fortress at once. As enemy soldiers rushed to investigate the chaos, Alex's squad struck from the canyon below, drawing attention away from the fleeing hostages. The rescue was a complete success. All hostages escaped safely, and the squad suffered minimal casualties. As the simulation ended and the holographic environment faded away, the other cadets stared at Alex in amazement. "How did you know about the caves?" Whisper asked. "I did not," Alex admitted, "but I guessed based on what I could see. Sometimes you have to take risks when conventional tactics fail." Vex was quiet for a long moment, studying Alex with new respect. "That was clever," he said finally, "for a human." Later that day, Alex was called to Professor Keln's office. The elderly Vorthon smiled as Alex entered. "Congratulations," Keln said, holding up a bronze star-shaped medal. "You have earned the Bronze Star of Tactical Excellence. Your unconventional thinking saved the mission when traditional approaches failed." Alex stared at the medal in wonder. It was beautiful, made of polished metal that caught the light. But more than that, it represented something he had never expected to achieve. "Thank you, sir," Alex said quietly. "Do not thank me," Professor Keln replied. "You earned this through your own actions. Perhaps it is time for others to realize that strength comes in many forms." As Alex walked back to his quarters, the Bronze Star felt heavy in his hand. It was just the beginning, but it was proof that humans belonged here among the stars, and Alex Carter was just getting started. The emergency alarm screamed through the corridors of Kepler Station, its red lights flashing in rhythm with the piercing sound. Alex jumped up from his study desk, where he had been reviewing stellar navigation charts. Through his small window, he could see a massive transport ship drifting helplessly in space, surrounded by a dangerous field of spinning asteroids. "All cadets report to emergency stations," announced the Academy's communication system. "This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." Alex ran toward the main briefing room, joining streams of other cadets rushing through the corridors. The scene outside was growing worse by the minute. The transport ship was caught in the middle of an asteroid field during a violent solar storm. Lightning-like energy discharges danced between the rocks, making rescue attempts extremely dangerous. In the briefing room, Admiral Torres, the Academy's commanding officer, stood before a large display screen showing the crisis. The elderly, human woman looked grim as she addressed the assembled cadets and instructors. The civilian transport safe harbor is trapped in the Gamma-7 asteroid field, she announced. They have 200 passengers aboard, including families with children. Their engines are damaged and they cannot escape on their own. The display zoomed in to show the trapped vessel. It was being battered by small asteroids while larger rocks tumbled dangerously close. Bright flashes of electromagnetic energy from the solar storm lit up the debris field like deadly fireworks. The problem is the storm interference, Admiral Torres continued. All of our advanced navigation systems are useless in these conditions. Our computer-guided ships cannot penetrate the field safely. We need volunteer pilots willing to fly manually through that chaos. A murmur went through the crowd. Flying manually through an asteroid field was considered nearly impossible, even for experienced pilots. Doing it during a solar storm was practically suicide. Professor Keln floated forward, his Vorthan features showing concern. Admiral, the electromagnetic interference is overwhelming. Even our enhanced species cannot use their natural abilities in these conditions. The ethereal's enhanced reflexes are disrupted by the energy discharges. The psionic order cannot maintain mental focus. The storm is affecting everyone. Several senior cadets from various species stepped forward, volunteering for the mission, despite the danger. But one by one, they were forced to admit that their natural abilities were compromised by the storm conditions. The energy discharges are scrambling my telepathic senses, reported a Vorthan cadet. I cannot navigate safely. My enhanced vision is useless, added an ethereal. The electromagnetic flashes are blinding me. My natural coordination is disrupted, said a Kepler lizard. I cannot maintain precise control. Alex watched the display screen as the transport ship drifted closer to a massive asteroid. Time was running out, and none of the Academy's most gifted students could help because their enhanced abilities were working against them in these conditions. Slowly, Alex raised his hand. Sir, I volunteer for the rescue mission. The room fell, silent. Admiral Torres looked at him with surprise and concern. Cadet Carter, you understand the conditions out there? This requires manual piloting skills that even our best students cannot handle right now. Yes, sir, Alex replied steadily, but I might have an advantage that others do not. What advantage? Asked Professor Keln, genuinely curious. I have no enhanced abilities for the storm to disrupt, Alex explained. My senses are completely normal, which means they are working exactly as they always do. While everyone else is having their natural gifts scrambled by the electromagnetic interference, I am operating at my usual level. Admiral Torres frowned. Cadet, normal human senses and reflexes are not considered sufficient for this type of rescue. That is why we rely on enhanced beings for dangerous missions. But normal is all I have ever had, Alex said. I have been training to work with basic human limitations since I arrived here. I know how to fly without computer assistance because I never had enhanced abilities to rely on. The Admiral looked around the room at the other volunteers, all of whom were struggling with their disrupted senses. The transport ship on the screen was now less than an hour away from being crushed by a massive asteroid. Very well, Cadet Carter, she said finally. You have permission to attempt the rescue, but you will take the smallest scout ship we have. If you cannot handle the conditions, you are to return immediately. Understood, sir. 20 minutes later, Alex sat in the cockpit of a tiny one-person scout ship floating at the edge of the asteroid field. Through the viewports, he could see the chaotic dance of rocks and energy that had trapped the transport. It looked like flying into the heart of a lightning storm while dodging boulders the size of buildings. "Scout 7, this is Control," came the voice through his communicator. "All our instruments show the field as impenetrable. Are you certain you want to proceed?" Alex looked at his basic control panel. No advanced computers, no enhanced navigation. Systems, just simple gauges and manual controls. The same type of equipment humans had been using to fly for centuries. "Control, this is Scout 7. Beginning approach now." Alex pushed the throttle forward and entered the asteroid field. Immediately, the ship was buffeted by electromagnetic pulses that would have overwhelmed any advanced system. But Alex's simple instruments continued to work, showing him basic information about speed, direction, and fuel. The key was not fighting the chaos, but flowing with it. Instead of trying to plan a precise route through the field, Alex let his instincts guide him. When a massive rock tumbled toward him, he pulled to the side at the last second. When energy discharges lit up the space ahead, he adjusted course to avoid the worst of it. It was like learning to walk again, but in 3 dimensions at incredible speed. Alex's human reflexes, trained through millions of years of evolution to react to immediate threats, served him well. He did not try to think ahead or calculate complex trajectories. He simply responded to what he could see right in front of him. "Scout 7, how are you managing to navigate in there?" came the amazed voice from Control. "Our sensors show you moving through spaces that should be impossible to traverse." "Just taking it one rock at a time," Alex replied, banking sharply to avoid a collision. 30 minutes into the flight, Alex reached the trapped transport. The massive ship was wedged between 2 large asteroids, with its hull showing signs of damage from repeated impacts. Through the viewports, Alex could see frightened faces pressed against the windows. "Transport safe harbor. This is Rescue Scout. I am going to attach a tow cable to your ship and pull you free." "Scout pilot, this is Captain Hayes of the Safe Harbor," came a woman's voice. "Are you insane? The gravitational forces in here will tear a small ship like yours apart if you try to tow us." "Maybe," Alex admitted, "but staying here definitely will not work. Trust me." Alex maneuvered his tiny ship into position and fired a magnetic tow cable that locked onto the transport's hull. Then came the hardest part. Instead of simply pulling straight out, Alex had to navigate both ships through the asteroid field while maintaining the tow connection. It required every bit of skill and intuition Alex possessed. The transport was hundreds of times larger than his scout ship, making it incredibly difficult to control. But Alex used the momentum of the asteroids themselves, letting the gravitational forces help push them toward open space. Twice, the tow cable nearly snapped under the strain. Once, Alex had to fly completely blind through a cloud of electromagnetic discharge, trusting only his instruments to guide him. But slowly, carefully, he pulled the transport ship toward safety. 2 hours after entering the field, both ships emerged into clear space. The transport's passengers cheered as they saw the stars without asteroids blocking the view. Alex's scout ship had taken damage from flying debris, but both vessels were intact. "Scout 7, this is Admiral Torres," came the voice through the communicator. "Outstanding work, Cadet. Return to base immediately for debriefing." Back at the academy, Alex found himself surrounded by fellow cadets who wanted to know how he had accomplished the impossible. Even Vex, The Zentari who had mocked him on his first day looked at him with newfound respect. "How did you do it?" asked Zara, the ethereal from his squad. "My enhanced reflexes were completely useless in those conditions." "That was exactly the point," Alex explained. "Everyone else was trying to use abilities that the storm was disrupting. I just used what I had, the same way I always do." Professor Keln approached with another medal in his hands. This one was silver and bore the image of a rescue ship among the stars. "Cadet Carter," he said formally, "you have earned the silver Medal of Heroic Service for saving 200 lives under impossible conditions. Your willingness to risk your own safety for others exemplifies the highest ideals of the Academy." As Alex accepted the medal, he thought about the frightened faces he had seen through the transport's windows. Families with children, elderly passengers, people who just wanted to get home safely. None of them cared that he was just human when he pulled them out of that asteroid field. "Thank you, sir," Alex said quietly. Later that night, Alex sat in his room looking at his two medals. The bronze star and the silver medal seemed to glow in the starlight coming. The endurance testing facility looked like a nightmare designed to break both body and spirit. Alex stood with 40 other cadets at the entrance to what the Academy called the Crucible, a series of physical and mental challenges that would push every species to their absolute limits. Commander Thane, a massive Zentari with scars covering his armor plates, addressed the group. The Crucible has been designed to test the maximum capabilities of every known species in the galaxy. Each challenge will push you beyond what you think possible. When your body screams to quit, when your mind begs for rest, when every instinct tells you to give up, that is when the real test begins. Alex looked around at his fellow cadets. The Dwarven Federation members stood confidently, their dense muscle and thick bones designed for endurance work. The ethereals floated gracefully, their enhanced metabolism allowing them to function with minimal rest. Even the Kepler lizards, despite their small size, possessed incredible stamina for their quick movements. "The test will continue for 72 hours, Commander Thane continued. "You will face physical obstacles, mental puzzles, sleep deprivation, extreme temperatures, and psychological pressure. Anyone may quit at any time by pressing the red button on your wrist device. There is no shame in recognizing your limits." As they entered the first chamber, Alex felt the familiar weight of being underestimated. Other cadets barely looked at him, assuming the weak human would be among the first to quit. Even his own squad members from previous missions seemed doubtful. "Alex," Whisper said quietly, his psychic voice carrying concern, "these tests are designed around enhanced physiology. Humans were not considered when they built this facility." "I know," Alex replied, "but I am here now, so I might as well see what happens." The first challenge was a climbing wall that stretched up into darkness. The surface was covered with shifting handholds that moved every few seconds, requiring constant adaptation. Alex watched as the Dwarven cadets powered up the wall with their superior strength, while the ethereals used their enhanced reflexes to anticipate the moving grips. Alex started climbing at his own pace, using technique instead of raw power. When the handhold shifted, he adapted quickly, finding new paths up the wall. His human flexibility allowed him to reach positions that bulkier species could not manage. It took him longer than the others, but he made it to the top. The second challenge was a maze filled with mental puzzles that had to be solved while running. The Psionic Order students excelled here, their enhanced minds processing multiple problems simultaneously. Alex struggled with the complex calculations, but refused to stop moving. When pure intellect failed him, he used pattern recognition and intuitive leaps to find solutions. Hour after hour, the challenges continued. Heat chambers that tested temperature tolerance, ice rooms that froze breath in the air, balance beams over endless pits, memory tests while being subjected to loud noises and flashing lights. One by one, cadets began to drop out. A Kepler lizard collapsed from exhaustion after 18 hours. Several ethereals quit when their enhanced senses became overwhelmed by sensory overload. Even some of the mighty Zentari warriors pressed their red buttons when the psychological pressure became too intense. Alex kept going. When his muscles screamed in pain, he forced them to move anyway. When his mind became foggy from sleep deprivation, he focused on simple, basic tasks. When the cold made his teeth chatter uncontrollably, he thought about the warm sunshine of Earth. "How is the human still functioning?" Alex heard one instructor ask another during the 36th hour. "His physiology should have failed hours ago." By the 48th hour, only half the cadets remained. Alex was moving slower now, his body operating on pure willpower. His hands shook from fatigue, and his legs felt like they weighed 1,000 pounds each. But he kept placing one foot in front of the other. The psychological challenges were the worst. Instructors shouted insults and criticism designed to break mental resolve. They told Alex he was weak, worthless, that humans did not belong among the stars. They showed him images of his family on Earth, suggesting he was wasting his life trying to be something he could never become. Alex listened to it all and kept moving forward. During the 60th hour, something strange happened. The other remaining cadets, those with enhanced physiology and superior abilities, began to falter. Their enhanced senses, pushed beyond normal limits for too long, started to malfunction. Telepaths could no longer focus their thoughts. Enhanced. Reflexes became erratic and unreliable. But Alex, who had no enhanced abilities to break down, continued functioning at his normal level. His ordinary human endurance, evolved over millions of years of persistence, hunting, and survival, just kept going. "This is impossible," muttered Brick, the dwarven cadet, as he pressed his red button after 62 hours. "My bones are designed to handle this kind of stress, but I cannot continue." Zara, the ethereal, quit 2 hours later. Her enhanced metabolism, pushed too hard for too long, was consuming her energy faster than she could replace it. "I do not understand how the human is still moving," she said as she walked past Alex. By the 70th hour, only 5 cadets remained out of the original 40. Alex was one of them, along with 2 Zentari warriors, a psionic order student, and 1 dwarven cadet. All of them looked like walking zombies, barely able to put one foot in front of the other. The final challenge was the simplest and the hardest, a 10-mile walk carrying a 50-pound pack. No obstacles, no puzzles, no tricks, just the basics. Test of whether their bodies could continue functioning when everything hurt and every step required conscious effort. One of the Zentari warriors collapsed after 3 miles. His massive frame, designed for short bursts of incredible power, could not maintain the steady, grinding pace any longer. The psionic order student quit after 5 miles when his mental disciplines finally broke down under the strain. At mile 7, the second Zentari warrior sat down heavily and pressed his red button. "I cannot feel my legs anymore," he said simply. The last dwarven cadet made it to mile 8 before his legendary endurance finally gave out. He looked at Alex with amazement as he quit. "How?" he asked. "How are you still going?" Alex was alone. Now, the only cadet still moving toward the finish line. His vision was blurry, his legs were shaking, and every muscle in his body felt like it was on fire. But he kept walking, one step at a time, because stopping was not an option. The finish line appeared ahead like a mirage. Alex stumbled the last 100 yards, his coordination completely gone. He crossed the line and immediately collapsed, his body finally giving up now that the goal was reached. When Alex woke up 3 days later in the medical bay, Professor Keln was sitting beside his bed. The Vorthan looked at him with an expression of wonder and respect. 72 hours and 15 minutes, Professor Keln said quietly. You completed the entire crucible, something that has never been done before. The previous record was 68 hours, set by a Zentari warrior 15 years ago. Alex tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Everything hurt. "Did I really finish?" he asked. "You did more than finish," Professor Keln replied. "You redefined what we thought was possible. When every enhanced ability failed, when every natural advantage broke down, pure human stubbornness carried you through." The professor held up a golden medal that seemed to glow with inner light. The gold medal of unbreaking spirit is awarded to those who refuse to surrender when all hope is lost. You have earned it through the simple act of never giving up. As Alex accepted the medal, he thought about the other cadets who had quit. They were not weak. They had pushed their enhanced abilities to the breaking point and beyond. But when those abilities failed them, they had no backup plan. Alex had never had enhanced abilities to rely on in the first place. When things got difficult, when his body wanted to quit, when his mind begged for rest, he just did what humans had always done throughout history. He endured. "How did you do it?" Professor Keln asked. "What kept you going when beings with superior physiology could not continue?" Alex thought about it for a moment. "I think it is because I had to," he said finally. "Everyone else had natural advantages that made things easier for them most of the time. When those advantages were taken away, they did not know how to continue. But humans, we have never had it easy. We learned to keep going anyway." "Professor," Keln nodded slowly, "perhaps that is humanity's greatest strength. Not what you can do when conditions are perfect, but what you can do when everything goes wrong." As Alex drifted back to sleep, the gold medal resting on his chest, he realized something important. The Academy had been designed to test the limits of enhanced beings, but in doing so, they had created the perfect environment for an ordinary human to excel. Sometimes being normal was the most extraordinary thing of all. The ethics examination chamber was designed to look like a military courtroom. Rows of seats faced a raised platform where instructors would present moral dilemmas that had no easy answers. Every cadet at the academy had to pass this test to graduate, proving they could make difficult decisions under pressure. Alex sat with 30 other senior cadets as Professor Valdez, a stern human woman from the ethics department, explained the exercise. "Today you will serve as a military tribunal judging war crimes from the Kepler Rebellion 20 years ago. You will hear testimony, examine evidence, and make decisions that could affect millions of lives." The lights dimmed, and holographic projections filled the chamber. Suddenly, Alex was no longer sitting in a classroom, but standing in the ruins of a destroyed city. Smoke rose from collapsed buildings, and the air smelled of fire and death. "You are Admiral Kane," Professor Valdez announced. commanding the Third Fleet during the final battle of the Kepler Rebellion. Your forces have surrounded the rebel stronghold on Kepler Prime. Intelligence reports indicate the rebels are holding 50,000 civilian hostages in the city center. Alex looked around at his fellow cadets. Each was now wearing the uniform of a different species military, representing the various Allied forces involved in the historical battle. Their holographic rank insignia showed they were all high-ranking officers in this simulation. "Admiral Kane," came a voice from beside him. Alex turned to see a holographic aide, a young officer with urgent news. "Sir, the rebels have issued an ultimatum. They demand safe passage off-planet in exchange for releasing the hostages. If we refuse, they threaten to execute 10,000 civilians immediately." Another holographic figure approached. General Voss, representing the Zentari, ground forces. "Admiral, my troops are in position to storm the city. We can breach their defenses and rescue most of the hostages, but casualties will be heavy on both sides." Alex felt the weight of command settling on his shoulders. This was not just an academic exercise anymore. The holograms were so realistic that he could see the fear in the civilians' faces, the determination in the soldiers' eyes, the desperation of a situation with no good options. "What intelligence do we have on rebel troop strength?" Alex asked. "Approximately 5,000 fighters," reported the aide. "They are well armed and have prepared defensive positions throughout the city. Our analysts estimate we could take the city, but at the cost of 15,000 civilian lives and 20,000 military casualties." Alex looked at his fellow cadets to see how they were handling the pressure. Most seemed eager to make quick decisions. Vex, the Zentari cadet, was already nodding approvingly at the assault option. Several ethereal cadets were discussing the tactical advantages of different approaches. "We have another option," announced a new holographic figure, Director Nash, of Intelligence. "We have developed a chemical weapon that could incapacitate the rebel forces without killing them. However, the gas is untested on civilians. It might save lives, or it might kill everyone in the city." "How long do we have to decide?" Alex asked. "The rebels have given us 1 hour," the aide replied. "After that, they start executing hostages. Professor." Valdez's voice echoed through the chamber, speaking to all the cadets simultaneously. "You must now vote on your course of action. Remember, this tribunal is judging the real Admiral Kane's decision from 20 years ago. Your choice will determine whether his actions were justified or constitute war crimes." One by one, the other cadets began announcing their decisions. Most supported either the direct assault or negotiating with the rebels. A few suggested the chemical weapon option. Each choice was logical from a military standpoint, focusing on minimizing casualties or achieving strategic objectives. Then it was Alex's turn to speak. "I refuse all 3 options," Alex announced quietly. The chamber fell silent. Professor Valdez materialized beside him, no longer just a voice, but a visible presence. "Cadet Carter, you must choose one of the available options. Those were the only choices Admiral Kane had." "No," Alex said firmly. "Admiral Kane had other choices. He chose not to consider them because they were harder and took more time." "Explain yourself," Professor Valdez demanded. Alex gestured toward the holographic city around them. "This scenario assumes we must act within 1 hour, because the rebels set that deadline. But who gave them the authority to set our timeline? Why should we accept their ultimatum as binding?" Vex interrupted angrily. "Because they will start killing hostages. We cannot ignore their threats." "We cannot stop them from killing some hostages, no matter what we choose," Alex replied. Every option presented results in civilian deaths. But that does not mean we have to play by their rules. Alex turned to address Professor Valdez directly. I propose a fourth option. We begin immediate humanitarian evacuations of civilians from areas not directly controlled by the rebels. We establish safe corridors for non-combatants to leave the city. We offer medical aid and food to anyone who wants to leave, regardless of their political allegiance. That would take days, protested Quick, the Kepler lizard cadet. The rebels will not wait that long. Exactly, Alex said. We make them the ones choosing to murder innocent people while we are actively trying to save lives. We force them to become the villains in front of their own supporters and the galaxy at large. Professor Valdez frowned. That is not one of the historical options available to Admiral Kane. Because Admiral Kane was thinking like a military commander instead of a moral leader, Alex responded. He accepted the premise that violence was the only solution because violence was what he understood. But moral courage sometimes means refusing to accept impossible choices. The other cadets were staring at Alex now, some with confusion, others with anger. Whisper, the psionic order student, spoke up. Your plan could result in even more deaths. While we waste time with evacuations, the rebels could fortify their positions or harm more hostages. Yes, it could, Alex admitted. But it is the only option that does not guarantee civilian deaths from our own actions. Every other choice makes us complicit in killing innocent people. This is war, Vex shouted. Innocent people die in war. That is not a crime. It is reality. Alex looked at the Zentari cadet steadily. The moment we accept that innocent deaths are inevitable, we stop being protectors and become killers. The moment we let our enemies choose our moral standards for us, we have already lost the war that matters. Professor Valdez studied Alex carefully. So you would risk military failure and additional casualties to maintain moral purity? I would risk everything to maintain the principles we are supposed to be fighting for, Alex replied. If we abandon our values to achieve victory, what exactly have we won? The simulation around them began to flicker and fade. Professor Valdez called for the final vote. One by one, the other cadets voted for military solutions: assault, negotiation, or chemical weapons. Each choice accepted the premise that some innocent deaths were acceptable for the greater good. Alex stood alone, the only cadet refusing to participate in any action that deliberately placed civilian lives at risk. The tribunal has reached its verdict, Professor Valdez announced. By a vote of 29-1, Admiral Kane's actions are deemed militarily justified under the circumstances. Alex nodded. And by a vote of 1-29, they are deemed morally unjustifiable regardless of the circumstances. After the simulation ended, Alex found himself surrounded by angry cadets. Many accused him of being naive, unrealistic, or dangerously idealistic. Several suggested that his human emotions had clouded his military judgment. But Professor Valdez approached him with a different expression entirely. Cadet Carter, she said quietly, in my 30 years of teaching military ethics, I have never seen a student refuse to compromise their principles under such pressure. Most officers learn to rationalize necessary evils. You refuse to accept that any evil is necessary. She held up a crystal medal that seemed to glow with inner light. The crystal medal of moral courage is awarded to those who choose right over easy, principle over pragmatism, honor over victory. You have demonstrated that true leadership sometimes means standing alone for what is right. As Alex accepted the medal, Several instructors from other departments approached to observe the ceremony. Word had spread quickly about the human cadet, who had rejected every military option in favor of an impossible moral stand. "Do you realize," Professor Valdez asked, "that your refusal to participate in the exercise could be seen as insubordination?" "Yes," Alex replied. "But insubordination to an immoral order is itself a moral duty." Professor Keln floated over from where he had been watching. "Most fascinating," the Vorthon said. "Every other species represented today chose military efficiency over moral absolutes. Only the human refused to accept civilian casualties as unavoidable. Perhaps that is because humans have been on the receiving end of such choices," Alex said quietly. "We know what it feels like to be the civilians that someone decides are acceptable losses." That evening, Alex sat in his room looking at his 4 medals: bronze for tactical thinking, silver for heroic service, gold for unbreaking spirit, and now crystal for moral courage. Each one represented a different aspect of leadership, but this last one felt the most important. The attack came without warning in the middle of the night cycle. Alex woke to the sound of emergency alarms and the thunder of explosions echoing through Kepler Station's hull. Red emergency lights bathed everything in an ominous glow as he pulled on his uniform and rushed into the corridors. "All cadets to emergency stations," Admiral Torres's voice boomed over the communication system. "The Academy is under attack by unknown hostile forces. This is not a drill. Repeat, we are under attack." Alex joined the stream of cadets and instructors rushing toward the command center. Through the observation windows, he could see sleek, black ships attacking the station with weapons that seemed to slice through the Academy's shields like they were made of paper. In the main command center, chaos reigned. Admiral Torres stood at the central display, her face grim as she watched their defenses crumble. "Report!" she shouted over the noise of another explosion. "Unknown attackers, Admiral," reported Lieutenant Commander Park, the tactical officer. "Their ships use technology we have never seen before. Our computer-guided defense systems cannot lock onto them. Their weapons are penetrating our shields as if they do not exist." Alex watched the tactical display in growing alarm. The Academy's advanced defense grid, designed to repel any known threat, was completely ineffective against these mysterious attackers. Laser batteries fired wildly into empty space, while the enemy ships moved in patterns that seemed to defy physics. "Can we identify them?" Admiral Torres demanded. "Negative, sir," replied the communications officer. "They are not responding to hails and do not match any known ship designs in our database." Professor Keln floated over to Admiral Torres, his Vorthon features showing deep concern. "Admiral, our enhanced cadets are reporting severe disorientation. The enemy ships are emitting some kind of interference that is disrupting telepathic abilities, enhanced reflexes, and other natural gifts." Alex looked around and saw that Keln was right. The ethereal cadets were stumbling as their enhanced coordination failed them. The psionic order students were holding their heads in pain as their mental abilities were scrambled. Even the mighty Zentari warriors seemed confused and sluggish. "All defense platforms are offline," reported another officer. "The enemy's jamming technology is more advanced than anything in our databases. Our automated systems cannot function." "Admiral," Torres slammed her fist on the command console. "Then we fight manually. All cadets with piloting experience report to the hangar bays. We will launch fighters and engage them the old-fashioned way." But as the cadets rushed toward the hangar bays, it became clear that the situation was even worse than anyone had imagined. The enemy's interference was affecting not just computers, but any technology that relied on advanced sensors or targeting systems. I cannot see them clearly, reported Zara over the communication system from her fighter cockpit. My enhanced vision is being disrupted. The targeting computers are useless. My telepathic coordination is completely scrambled, added Whisper. I cannot maintain formation with other pilots. One by one, the Academy's fighter pilots were forced to return to the hangar bays. Their enhanced abilities, which had made them superior pilots, were now working against them. The enemy's technology seemed specifically designed to neutralize the advantages that most galactic species relied upon. Alex stood in the command center, watching their defenses collapse, when an idea began to form. While everyone else was struggling, with their disrupted abilities, he felt completely normal. The enemy's interference was affecting enhanced senses and advanced technology, but it was not affecting basic human perception. "Admiral," Alex said, approaching Torres, "request permission to take a fighter into combat." Admiral Torres looked at him with surprise and concern. "Cadet Carter, our most experienced pilots cannot handle these conditions. What makes you think you can do better?" "Because I do not have enhanced abilities for them to disrupt," Alex explained. "My senses and reflexes are completely ordinary, which means they are working exactly as they always do. I can fly manual controls because I have never relied on advanced targeting systems." Professor Keln overheard and floated closer. "The human may have a point," he said thoughtfully. "If the enemy's interference specifically targets enhanced abilities and advanced technology, then someone without those advantages might be immune to their effects." Another explosion rocked the station, closer this time. Through the windows, Alex could see enemy ships moving with impossible grace, their weapons carving through the Academy's outer defenses. "Very well," Admiral Torres decided. "Cadet Carter, you have permission to launch, but if the conditions prove too dangerous, return immediately." "Understood, sir." Alex ran to the hangar bay and climbed into the smallest, simplest fighter available. Unlike the advanced craft preferred by other species, this one had basic manual controls and minimal computer assistance. It was the kind of ship that required pilot skill rather than technological enhancement. As Alex launched into space, he immediately understood why the other pilots had failed. The enemy ships moved in ways that seemed to defy physics, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. Their weapons created patterns of energy that would overwhelm any enhanced senses trying to track them. But Alex was not trying to track them with enhanced senses. He was using basic human vision, evolved over millions of years, to spot movement and recognize patterns. And slowly, he began to see what others had missed. The enemy ships were not randomly teleporting or moving faster than light. They were using some kind of stealth technology that created visual distortions, making them appear to be in different positions than they actually were. The effect would completely confuse computer targeting systems or enhanced alien senses, but human eyes could adapt to it. Alex began firing not at where the ships appeared to be, but at where logic suggested they actually were. His first few shots missed, but he was learning their patterns. When an enemy ship seemed to disappear to the left, it was actually moving right. When it appeared to split into 3 images, the real ship was always in the middle. "Command, this is Fighter 7, Alex reported over the communication system. "I think I have figured out their stealth technology. They are creating false images to confuse targeting systems." "Can you engage them effectively?" Admiral Torres asked. "Working on it," Alex replied, lining up another shot. This time, his energy blast struck home. One of the enemy ships flickered and became fully visible as its stealth system failed. Immediately, the Academy's automated defenses locked onto the revealed target and destroyed it. Outstanding! Admiral Torres exclaimed. Fighter 7, can you repeat that success? Alex was already engaging the next enemy ship, using his growing understanding of their tactics. The key was ignoring what his eyes were telling him and trusting his instincts about where the ships really were. It was like learning to fight while looking in a mirror. Confusing at first, but manageable once you understood the distortion. 1. By 1, Alex damaged enemy ships enough to disrupt their stealth systems, allowing the station's defenses to finish them off. But there were too many attackers for one pilot to handle alone. All fighters, this is Fighter 7, Alex broadcast on the general communication channel. Ignore your targeting computers and enhanced senses. The enemy ships are creating false images. Aim for where they logically should be, not where they appear to be. Slowly, other pilots began to understand. Those who could adapt to manual targeting started achieving hits. The Academy's fighter squadrons began working together, with Alex calling out enemy positions and movement patterns for pilots whose natural abilities were still disrupted. The battle turned into a grinding contest of attrition. The enemy had superior technology, but the Academy had superior numbers once they learned how to fight effectively. Alex found himself coordinating the entire fighter defense, his ordinary human senses providing the baseline that other pilots could reference. Enemy ships are retreating, reported the tactical officer after 2 hours of intense combat. They are jumping to hyperspace. As the last enemy vessel disappeared, Alex guided his damaged fighter back to the hangar bay. His ship had taken several hits during the battle, and he was exhausted from the constant maneuvering and tactical coordination. In the command center, Admiral Torres was waiting with a medal Alex had never seen before. It was made of platinum and bore the image of a brilliant star surrounded by tactical symbols. Cadet Carter, Admiral Torres said formally, you have earned the Platinum Medal of Strategic Innovation. Your ability to analyze enemy tactics and develop effective countermeasures under impossible conditions saved not only the Academy, but potentially thousands of lives. Alex accepted the medal, still trying to process what had happened. I just did what seemed logical, sir. When conventional approaches failed, we had to try something different. Professor Keln floated over, his expression thoughtful. Most fascinating. The enemy's technology was specifically designed to neutralize the enhanced abilities that most species rely upon. But humans, lacking such enhancements, were immune to the interference. It makes me wonder, Admiral Torres mused, if these attackers have encountered humans before. Their weapons seemed almost perfectly. The final examination chamber was unlike anything Alex had seen before at the Academy. The massive room stretched for hundreds of meters in every direction, filled with obstacles, challenges, and scenarios that seemed to shift and change even as he watched. This was the ultimate test, the graduation challenge that would determine who earned their commission as officers in the Galactic Fleet. Admiral Torres stood before the assembled senior cadets, her expression more serious than Alex had ever seen it. Behind her, the chamber's walls displayed complex readouts and measurements that seemed to monitor everything from atmospheric pressure to gravitational fields. This is your final examination, the Admiral announced. Each of you will face a scenario specifically designed to test your species' maximum capabilities. The challenges have been calibrated to push you beyond your known limits. Some of you will fail. That is expected and acceptable. What matters is how you respond when faced with the impossible. Alex looked around at his fellow cadets. After 3 years together, he knew their strengths and capabilities. Vex, the Zentari warrior, stood confident in his natural armor. Zara, the ethereal, seemed to float with graceful anticipation. Quick, the Kepler lizard, was practically vibrating with energy. Whisper, the psionic student, had his eyes closed in meditation. Cadet Carter, Admiral Torres called out. Your scenario is designated as Test Omega, designed specifically for human limitations. You will face challenges that require capabilities humans simply do not possess. The test is considered impossible for your species to complete alone. Alex felt a familiar sinking sensation in his stomach. After everything he had accomplished, after proving time and again that humans belonged at the Academy, they were still expecting him to fail. However, the Admiral continued, you will not be taking this test alone. Due to the unique nature of your scenario, you will be leading a mixed-species team through a series of connected challenges. Your success will depend not on individual achievement, but on your ability to coordinate different abilities toward a common goal. The chamber around them began to shift and change. Alex found himself standing in what appeared to be a massive underground cavern system. Glowing crystals provided dim light, revealing tunnels that branched off in multiple directions. The air was thick and humid, making it difficult to breathe. Welcome to the Kepler cave system, announced the computer voice that controlled the simulation. Your mission is to rescue a team of explorers trapped in the deepest chamber. You have 6 hours before toxic gases flood the entire complex. The route requires navigating vertical shafts, underwater passages, extreme temperatures, psychic barriers, and structural instability. Alex looked at his team. 5 cadets from different species, each with abilities that would be crucial for different parts of the mission. But as he studied the mission parameters displayed on his wrist device, he realized why this test was considered impossible for humans. The first section required climbing a vertical shaft with handholds spaced too far apart for human reach. The second involved swimming through underwater passages while holding breath far longer than human lungs could manage. The third required withstanding temperatures that would kill unprotected humans in minutes. The fourth needed telepathic abilities to navigate psychic barriers. The fifth demanded strength far beyond human capability to move massive stone blocks. This is designed for us to fail, muttered Jake, a human cadet who had been assigned to Alex's team as an observer. Every section requires abilities that humans do not have. Alex studied the route more carefully, then looked at his team members. Maybe that is the point, he said slowly. Maybe the test is not about individual capabilities, but about working together. Vex crossed his arms skeptically. How can you lead us through challenges you cannot complete yourself? By understanding what each of you can do and finding ways to combine our strengths, Alex replied. Zara, your enhanced reflexes and flexibility could handle the vertical climbing section. Quick, your speed and swimming ability could navigate the underwater passages. Brick, he addressed the dwarven cadet. Your natural resistance to temperature extremes could get us through the heat section. Whisper, your telepathic abilities could deal with the psychic barriers. And Vex, your strength could move the stone blocks. But what about you? Whisper asked. What can you contribute to this mission? Alex thought about it for a moment. Coordination, planning, making sure everyone's abilities are used at the right time and place, and adapting when things go wrong because they always do. The team moved into the first section, the vertical shaft that stretched up into darkness. The handholds were indeed spaced for beings much larger than humans, making the climb impossible for normal human reach. I will go first, Zara announced. using her ethereal grace to leap between handholds that were meters apart. "But how will the rest of you follow?" Alex studied the shaft walls and noticed something the others had missed. "There," he pointed, to a series of smaller cracks and protrusions in the rock. "Brick, can your tools widen those cracks enough for us to use as secondary handholds?" The dwarven cadet pulled out his mining equipment and began carefully expanding the natural fissures in the rock. Within minutes, they had created an alternate climbing route that everyone could use. In the underwater section, Quick's natural swimming ability allowed him to scout ahead and find the safest route through the flooded passages. But the distance was too far for the others to swim without breathing apparatus. "The water flows in a current," Alex observed, studying the patterns. "Quick, can you attach guide ropes along the optimal path? We can use the current to help pull us through faster, reducing the time we need to hold our breath. By working together and using the environment strategically, they made it through the underwater maze with time to spare." The temperature section was a cavern filled with superheated air that would have been lethal to most species. Brick's natural heat resistance allowed him to operate normally, but the others needed protection. "There are thermal vents creating the heat," Alex noticed, pointing to openings in the cavern floor. "Brick, can you temporarily block those vents while we cross? We only need a few minutes of reduced temperature." Using his tools and strength, Brick redirected the thermal flow, creating a brief window of survivable conditions for the team to cross. The psychic barriers were invisible walls of mental energy that caused intense pain to anyone trying to pass through them. Whisper's telepathic abilities allowed him to sense and navigate the barriers, but the others could not follow his path without guidance. "Can you create a telepathic link to guide us through?" Alex asked. "Not controlling our movements, but showing us the safe path?" Whisper nodded and established a gentle mental connection with each team member. Following his psychic guidance, they navigated through the maze of barriers without triggering any of them. The final section required moving massive stone blocks to clear a path to the trapped explorers. Each block weighed several tons, far beyond what any single being could handle. "Vex, you have the most strength, but even you cannot move these alone," Alex observed. "But what if we use leverage and teamwork?" Alex positioned the team to use their combined abilities strategically. Vex provided the primary lifting force, while Brick used his tools to create fulcrums and leverage points. Quick speed allowed him to quickly adjust positioning as they worked. Zara's agility let her access tight spaces to secure ropes and cables. Whisper's telepathy coordinated their movements with perfect timing. Working together, they moved the massive blocks and reached the trapped explorers with 30 minutes to spare. As the simulation ended and the chamber returned to normal, Alex's team stood together, exhausted but triumphant. They had completed a test that was supposed to be impossible, not through individual excellence, but through coordinated teamwork. Admiral Torres approached with an expression of amazement and pride. In her hands was a medal Alex had only seen once before, in the Academy's Hall of Honors. It was made of diamond and bore the image of multiple hands reaching toward a single star. "Cadet Carter," she said formally, "you have accomplished something that has been achieved only once before in the Academy's history. You have earned the Diamond Medal of Leadership, not by being the strongest or fastest or smartest, but by inspiring others to achieve more together than any of them could accomplish alone." Alex accepted the medal, but his attention was focused on his team members. "This belongs to all of us," he said. "I could not have done any of this without them." Vex, who had been Alex's harshest critic when he first arrived, stepped forward. "No," the Zentari warrior said respectfully. "You showed us how to use our abilities in ways we never considered. You saw solutions where we saw only obstacles. That is true leadership." Professor Keln floated over, his expression thoughtful. "Most fascinating. The test was indeed designed to be impossible for any single individual to complete. But you transformed it from a test of individual capability into a demonstration of collaborative leadership." As the other cadets gathered around to congratulate Alex and his team, Admiral Torres pulled him aside. "Cadet Carter, you have now earned every medal the Academy offers. Your achievements here have been Graduation Day at the Galactic Naval Academy was a ceremony of pageantry and tradition that stretched back 3 centuries. Representatives from dozens of worlds filled the massive ceremonial hall, their colorful uniforms and formal attire creating a rainbow of galactic civilization. Alex stood with his fellow graduating cadets, wearing his dress uniform with the 6 medals gleaming on his chest. More decorations than any cadet in Academy history. Admiral Torres took the podium as the ceremony began. "Today we celebrate not just the graduation of another class, but the culmination of 3 years that have redefined what we thought possible. These cadets have faced challenges that pushed them beyond their limits and discovered strengths they never knew they possessed." Alex looked out at the crowd and saw faces from every species in the galactic community. In the front row sat Professor Keln, who had become a mentor and friend. Nearby were his squad mates, Vex, Zara, Quick, Whisper, and Brick, who had started as skeptics and become his closest allies. "When Cadet Alex Carter first arrived at this academy," Admiral Torres continued, "many questioned whether humans belonged among our elite officer candidates. Today, as he graduates with the highest honors ever achieved, that question has been answered definitively." The crowd erupted in applause. Alex felt a mix of pride and nervousness as he realized all eyes were on him. After 3 years of proving himself, this moment should have felt like the ultimate triumph. "Cadet Carter, Admiral," Torres called out, "please step forward to receive your commission." Alex walked to the podium, his medals catching the light as he moved. The Admiral held an official document that would make him a lieutenant in the Galactic Navy, authorized to command ships and lead crews throughout known space. But instead of handing him the commission, Admiral Torres hesitated. Her expression changed from ceremonial pride to something that looked almost like regret. "Cadet Carter," she said quietly, her voice barely audible over the ceremonial music. "There has been a development that I must address before proceeding with your commissioning." The hall fell silent. Alex felt a cold sensation in his stomach as he saw the Admiral's troubled expression. "It has come to our attention," Admiral Torres continued, her voice now carrying to the entire hall, "that there is a bureaucratic issue regarding your official status. The Galactic Personnel Office has informed us that humans are currently classified as an unrecognized species under Military Regulation 47B. Alex stared at her in confusion. "I do not understand, Admiral. Humans have been part of the galactic community for 50 years? "Yes, for civilian purposes," Admiral Torres replied, her voice heavy with regret. "But military regulations are more complex. Until the Galactic Council formally votes to recognize humans as a full member species of the military alliance, human citizens cannot officially hold military rank or receive formal commissions." The hall buzzed with confused murmurs. Alex felt like the ground was falling away beneath his feet. "But I have completed all the requirements. I have earned every medal the Academy offers." "You have indeed," Admiral Torres said, and her voice carried both pride and anger. "Your achievements are unprecedented and your decorations are well earned, but I am legally prevented from granting you a commission or allowing you to wear your medals as an official officer." Professor Kellen floated forward, his Vorthon features showing distress. "Admiral, surely there must be some provision for exceptional circumstances?" "I have spent the past week researching every possible legal avenue," Admiral Torres replied. "The regulations are clear and inflexible. Until the Galactic Council changes the classification, I cannot commission Cadet Carter as an officer, regardless of his qualifications." Alex looked around the hall at the faces watching him. Some showed sympathy, others confusion. A few appeared satisfied that the upstart human was finally being put in his place. After everything he had accomplished, after proving time and again that humans belonged among the stars, bureaucratic paperwork was destroying it all.